Okay, so let's sort of move into predictions for next week. Now, unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, if you have watched the preview for next week, you can see kind of a little bit of what's going on. If you haven't, then maybe I don't know, tune out for a second because I'm going to talk about it just because we already saw it. But I mean, without seeing anything, I think it's pretty obvious we're doing the Stepstones next week.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. The war of the Stepstones is going to sort of start. So I'll just leave it at that. But now, having seen the preview for next week, did you watch it? You watched it live with me. Okay. Yep. So it looks like we're at a little over a year time jump.
Yeah.
And there is already a male baby from Allison.
Fast.
And so we've already got that going on, right? And we do see some of the War of the Stepstones. I don't know that I feel like this episode's going to be a little bit more Daemon since he wasn't in it as much this episode. And it's just going to sort of just show us here's a little bit more. It is now Queen Alicent, Hightower.
Yeah, and she really does. I think she's wearing like a red dress in that or whatever, which is interesting. Right. She's sort of taken a shift in colors a little bit, right? And you also see in that like Viserys talking to Rhaenyra about it's time for her to wed. So it feels super like, in like it's almost maybe like a little bit of a misstep. So had this have happened a year earlier in episode 2, where he said, or even talked to Corlys beforehand and say, hey, I have this bright idea. I'm going to unite our houses, but here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to, my daughter, my heir will then be, betrothed to your son. And there we go. Now clearly that he didn't think that doesn't happen. And it's fine because again, the timeline with all of this and everything and how the war needs to happen and Daemon, and as Corlys is saying at the end of this last episode, he and Daemon need to prove themselves. Don't need to, but they're going to, and they're going to kind of step up and their second sons, and they're going to, have their moment here. So it will be really cool to kind of see that. It almost makes you think that like, by doing that, by stepping up and doing what they want to do and showing how much power that fleet has, that Viserys then counters and saying, you know what? Okay, I messed up earlier. Now I can't let this alliance go. I need to offer up my daughter, right? I need to send my daughter to House Valerion with Laenor. And so that seems like that's going to be the big convo.
So, well, Jimmy?
Well, I actually just skimmed through the look ahead for episode 3, and it's definitely going to be Daemon heavy, and it looks sick.
Yeah,
looks sick.
Yep.
So here's a question: since we are getting a baby boy next episode, and we happen to know that baby boy is Aegon II Targaryen, do you think that name is chosen? Why do we think that name is chosen? Now that we know a little bit more about potentially some of the things, potentially secrets of like White Walkers or Targaryen visions. Yeah, we might need an Aegon on the throne.
Yeah, it seems like it's a very on-purpose choice rather than just being like it's time for another Aegon. Like it has a lot more meaning,
good
right?
All guys, yeah. So because you wonder about changes and things that might happen here. I mean, again, he's said even in this episode, again, moving forward, that Rhaenyra is his heir, and we know in the book he keeps to that for quite some time. But is something else kind of going on in the back of his mind? Is there another play here, or what's the deal? How does he? How does he? I guess keep that. How does he, not be estranged from his daughter and yet move forward with his line? Like, what's more important? I mean, I wonder if they're going to make any changes.
Yeah, because we know what happened. Yeah,
we know what happens. And so
we don't want to. We're trying not to. Yeah, not to go.
Try not to super go down the.
It's going to make things even more complicated.
Yeah, for sure. So he has a son, and it's like, okay, so now, I mean, let's just go over what you guys have seen it. You know that he has a son. With Alicent, right? That's
it's in the preview.
It's in the preview. So Daemon now is even so now there is no more like, oh, okay, you have a daughter. I still should be. So Daemon's now out. Like that whole play, right, is
out for Daemon.
Is out. So now what do you do? And so I think that's some food for people to kind of chew on a little bit and think about, what does Daemon do now that Viserys actually does have an heir? And I think that child looked pretty pretty healthy. You know what I mean? So
in the books, Alicent doesn't like lose a baby. So
right. No,
I mean, she has a baby who is then Aegon the Second Targaryen, and
right.
We progress forward there. So, there was that other thing where we saw Rhaenyra reading a little bit more into that prophecy. Is that next episode?
Could very well be.
Very well be. Right. Yeah. Trying to, because that is the interesting part now, is that the heir matters and passing down this information and keeping, looking, far ahead. The fact that he's named Aegon is interesting. You don't just idly choose that name. I mean, there's a lot of other names that they could have chosen to name him after, but it seems like Viserys has really taken this piece of information, this bit that's passed down from Aegon the Conqueror, to heart a little bit, and really values sort of passing this on to his heir. And he's done that with Rhaenyra. They set that up perfectly. So now you have a young, he's got a child, right? So like Rhaenyra is not going to be, and we're not all of a sudden, there's still years to go until that child would come of age. And so Viserys actually doesn't have to say or do anything, right? For quite some time, which is good. Keeps the peace a little bit, but that's all those years where Rhaenyra, as that child grows, does that threaten her claim? And then people swore an oath loyalty to her. So
do you guys like the change that basically Daemon and Corlys are going to go down against the king's orders, whereas in Fire and Blood, the king actually is fine with it. Like, it's not even a big deal. He's like, let him play down there so he doesn't bother me at court, kind of deal.
I think that could still happen. Because we have the time jump, he could be like focused. He could be focused on more stuff. So I think that could still happen, but he may not know that they were really planning on it, sort of behind his back. Yeah,
well, it's definitely. I mean, even the discussion of it being a problem and not wanting to go to war with the Free Cities is like completely omitted in Fire and Blood. So I actually kind of like it, because I think it makes Daemon even more of a rebel. Like, because some people feel like we kind of lost a bit of his like rebelness in episode 1 by giving him so much sympathy. Like whenever he's in the he's in the middle of the orgy and he's like short stroking, he's like, he can't, you know what I mean? So I kind of liked that it put some more eggs in the chaos basket for Daemon.
Yeah, I mean, so he's the rogue prince. Yeah, you're right. Like, it's like all this. Where does we have to kind of play that up a little bit. And so I think the Stepstones is the right spot to do it, where he's sort of that rebel. Because even at the end too, like the end of the first episode, he gets told by Viserys, like he gets really comes after him. So yeah, to see him not go where he was, but not go back to his wife, go down to Dragonstone, and then continue the plotting and the scheming. Yeah, it's cool.
And Mysaria is also like Mysaria is supposed to be an old bag of bones, from the books, and she's young. I think if there's like one character that's going to be drastically different, I think Mysaria is going to play a role further into the series, whereas in the book, she's kind of left alone.
Do we think she's glamored? She's like a Melisandre glamored. She actually is older.
I could see it. I kind of hope. I hope not. In a way, I don't know. I'd have to see what they do with it. But yes, she could be. I think she definitely could be, because they were pretty specific in giving her this series of dialogue where she's like, "Oh, I want freedom," and like that was, I don't know, it was kind of like it was a good little chunk of the episode to kind of build her. I mean, they definitely spent time building her character. Definitely,
that's going to be important.
She's going to be a bigger player in this,
right?
I think.
Right now, she kind of feels, I guess, I don't know if it's a fair or unfair comparison. She kind of feels like Shay a little bit.
I agree.
Just because I don't know that now Shay's role is totally different in that she, was really kind of put there, seems like, by Tywin to sort of ultimately get one over on Tyrion, and then but her past is still totally unexplored in the books and is still an enormous mystery. But I mean, she just kind of feels like that same like type of character. Like we're gonna get her story, but I feel like we'll never know all the details on it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So refresh. I could be wrong about this, but she's more of a she's the mistress of whispers, and she plays a bigger sort of, I don't know, like maybe a spy or
like a Varys role.
Yeah, like, and it didn't feel like that at all in this episode. That's who she was.
She's definitely a little bit mysterious, right? Because she kind of says like maybe you should go get. I think she says like a platinum haired girl to Daemon,
right?
In the first, kind of hinting at certain things, right?
Great, great comment here too. Sorry, Melissa says the book is a biased opinion though. And she is different, so she doesn't want power and isn't pregnant. Very curious, and that is something to remember about whatever history version of it you read, is that they're both written by Mushroom and Archmaester Godane, so they're both unreliable narrators.
Well, it's also like that fill in the so when you read it, it says that she again just lost she went to the Free Cities with a child and lost that child, and really that's just the story probably given out by Daemon later on when asked about that. Well, she lost the child. I mean, like, and then somebody in the histories wrote that down. Okay, that's what happened, but Daemon, that's not what happened. We just got sort of we got to see that. So I think that's the stuff we talked about pre-show before this ever came out. We said there's tons of things that they can that was something. I mean, that's a little change that you're thinking like, okay, why would that be even like what? Like, why make that change? Well, you make that change to show just how it plays up Daemon's character and just what he's willing to kind of do to get to his brother or to kind of I don't know, get attention or whatever. So
well, and I also think that her not being pregnant is probably a pretty good indicator, because in the book she's pregnant, right? The show she's not. I think it's a pretty good indicator that she's going to be around longer and that she'll have a role play.
Right. Yep. I'm hoping too that so she wanted that security, but she definitely could be somebody who starts to grow into a role of spies and having some agents or whatever inside the Red Keep and all that kind of stuff, which is what she will do later on. Interesting character though, and definitely totally feels different than what we had in the books. But I like it. And the other big thing it reminds you of too is that the dragons are power. Power is having a dragon, and so being protected by Daemon, she may have some powers or be glamored or have connections or whatever, but the ultimate power here right now is dragons, and that's like flat out established. So which is good. So that's why she's with one. So. Yeah.